Today we're going to be giving our tortoises baths. It's soaking time, so what we're going to do is put them in here individually. I'll show you how much water to put in, what temperature they need to be at, and why we do this in the first place. So let's get started and get our first tortoise, and I'll show you how to fill up the bowl properly. That's right, you can't have it too high or too low. It's got to be just at the right amount. So let's get started, huh? Alright, I am here. As you can hear, the water is running. We are in the kitchen. What we're doing is we're letting the water run to get up to temperature. Now, temperature and water level are your two critical elements in this process. You don't want the water to be so hot that you burn your tortoise, but you don't want it to be so cold that they could get like a respiratory illness because it's really cold for them. So what we want to do is make sure we get like a lukewarm to slightly on the warmer side. So I want to say, like, temperature wise, maybe like 75-degree water, 80-degree water. If it's too hot for you, it's too hot for them. That's the general rule. So bath water temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and get this temperature just right here, and then we'll start filling the bowl. Yeah, it's still a little too hot. There we go. That's pretty good. And the thing you also want to do is don't get too distracted while they're in the water bowl. You want to go ahead and keep an eye on them so that way that water doesn't get too cold for them while they're soaking. Generally, you want them in there for no more than 10 minutes. This allows them to get a drink if they're thirsty, a good soak for hydration, and also it allows them to poop because that's what they do when they're in the bath here. And you'll see that from a few of my tortoises once we get going. So now my temperature, I think, is pretty dialed in here. Yeah, I like that. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and fill up our water bowl. The first tortoise that I'm going to use for our bath here is, I think, 2 years old. So it's my Burmese star tortoise. I'll go get him. He is, he's only this big. Now when you fill up your water, you'll see I'm only going to fill it up a few inches. And the reason why is you don't want them to have to exert all their energy lifting themselves up to keep them afloat. You want to keep them just where the water touches the bottom carapace of their shell. So you don't want it to go past their midsection on the side. You'll see that here when we fill it up. So let's get this thing filled. Filling it up here. That looks good. And I have maybe an inch and a half of water. And we can adjust this as we go. Alright, so we have our Burmese star tortoise here. As you can see, his size isn't that big. He's not a large tortoise, so this small dish will do. We're going to go ahead and set him in here gently, so that way he understands he's going into water and you don't scare him to death here. All right. He's in here soaking. He's been in here for a little bit. I went ahead and warmed his water up again. I wanted to make sure that that temperature stays warmer because he's going to be in here for a little bit. Now, while he's in here soaking, you want to ensure that he's healthy or she's healthy, and this is a good time to do an inspection because not only are they one-on-one with you and active, you're also giving them a bath. You're able to see everything to make sure they're doing well. Some of the things to look for are shell rot, so you can look at the bottom of their carapace to make sure there's nothing going on in the underbelly. You want to look at their eyes to make sure that they're not swollen or have like like snot coming out of their eyeballs or nose for that matter, because that could be a respiratory infection. You also want to make sure that they look healthy, they're active, that they're alert and energetic. And the other thing too is they will defecate in the water. Tortoises do not have diaphragms, so it's harder for them to poop, which is why they have the fibrous diet that they do. So my guy here has already gone to the bathroom here. The temperature is starting to drop a little bit. I think I'm going to go ahead and get him out of here, and we're going to clean our bowl and move on to the next one. Again, this is just it's a relatively quick process. You don't want to leave your tort in here for an hour because the water will get cold. They will get sick. You don't want to leave your tortoise unattended because they could flip over and potentially drown in the water as well. So always be attentive and alert of what's going on in your water as well as the temperature. And you can just touch the sides of the bowl and get an idea of what that temperature is because it drops relatively quickly as well. So I think it's time. We're going to go ahead and pull this guy out. All right, so that takes care of the little guys. And on a side note, you might want to be precautious taking your animal to and from their enclosure, as they like to pee on you when you pick them up. So, what about the bigger tortoises? Can't fit them in a little bowl. So I have this tote that I use for the big guys like Benny. Same concept applies. You fill the water up a little bit. For the bigger ones, I'm probably more around 2 inches deep of water as opposed to like the inch and a half that I had with the smaller torts. But the same principle goes. You just put them in there. You monitor them. You make sure that the water level is appropriate for them. The temperature is appropriate. You're still looking for all the same stuff. You want to make sure there's no shell rot. You want to make sure that they're healthy. You want to look at their eyes. You want to look at their nose. Make sure it's nice and dry prior to them going in. And if you notice them like heavily drinking, that means you really got to pay attention to their water source. That might be an indication that they're actually not getting the proper hydration that they need in their enclosure. So that's another thing to consider as well. All right, so here is Hank. Hank is our smaller subadult cherry head tortoise. Hank is hanging out here in the water. You can see the water level if you get to the side here. I'm sorry I'm holding this thing like this. You can see where the water level kind of meets just barely the side of their shell, and that's where you want it. You want their head to be above the water, so that way they're not struggling to keep their head afloat when they're in there. This is a relaxing time for them. This is something that they're supposed to go in and just relax and take a bath. So I like to give my tortoises baths at least once a month. If it's babies, if it's newborn like hatchlings, I try to give them soaks almost daily. But the subadults and the like full-grown guys like Benny and even my sulcata, I mean, once a month is fine. As long as they have good, adequate hydration, I don't think it's going to be an issue. The the babies, like I said, anything less than a yearling, I would definitely increase that to daily, if not weekly, at the minimum. And if you notice that they're having a hard time going to the bathroom, then go ahead and increase those soaks. Now, on a side note to that, a lot of people have done this in the past, and if your tortoise is a little under the weather and they're not doing as well, you could actually give them a carrot juice bath. And you could find carrot juice in like the baby aisle of most of the major stores. And what you do is the same, similar process. You warm the carrot juice up a little bit. You don't want it ice cold. You fill up a small bowl and you put them in there, and they kind of soak that up. And the nutrients from that carrot juice actually helps them recover better. It's kind of like the echinacea of the tortoise world. That was a lot of work. So all of my reptiles are clean, squeaky clean. They had their baths. They did their business. Yeah, they're pretty much done. So a couple things I want to talk about. The containers that you use to wash your tortoises in. Make sure those are dedicated for your tortoise. It's very important to keep that segregated. You obviously don't want to be having like a salad bowl that you're going to be using for your intake of food, because there's risk for you to get sick. So don't do that. The updates. Let's get the updates here. So I have moved on a few of my tortoise species here at the house. What I've done is I've shifted my focus to sort of like redfoots. I'm going to be working with some Bermuda star torts here in the future. I have a new tortoise coming, one that I'm not going to tell you about right now until it gets here. I'm so excited, oh my god. So that's coming. I can't wait for you guys to see that video. I never thought in a million years I would get a tortoise like this. It's crazy. It's just awesome. So I can't wait for that. A couple other things. Don't forget about the Lacey Act. It's coming up soon. Make sure you contact your congressman, get a hold of US Arc. They can literally just point and click you right to how you can help and help fund them. Don't forget to donate to them. Little is like $5 a month like I do. Doesn't matter. You're contributing, you're helping the cause, right? US Arc. Take care of those people that are helping us every day. So, what else do I have going on? I have an interview coming up. I have an education. This is a cool project, guys. So I have an educational program coming up. My idea is to help educate and give kids an insight to the reptile world. I love teaching. I've never done it on a reptile scale before, so that's going to be very cool. And teaching them the reptile hobby, what it's about, teaching them, what they are, because kids, things they don't know about, they fear. People fear what they don't know. And the more you know, the less you fear. Right? So this educational program is going to be like a hands-on show and tell. I'm going to bring Benny with me. Benny's my Redfoot Tortoise, if you're new to the channel. And we're going to go out to people's houses that like homeschool their kids, possibly doing events like fairs or birthday parties, depending on the situation. I don't want to stress out my animals, if it's like a larger crowd, but kind of just get them hands-on and feeding the animals and understanding that they're awesome, and to get them introduced to this wonderful world that is reptiles, right? And it's kind of my mission the reason why I created this channel is to educate and help conservation, right? So I can kind of tie in this whole thing through these classes. I can even do an online video series if you want. If you have ideas on how to contribute to this mission, whether it's, I guess, different platforms, right, that we could be doing this on, let me know. Put it in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from my audience. I want to know what your thoughts are, maybe on my reptile collection, how I'm doing things here, you know, and maybe with this educational program, things of that nature. It'd be great. I'd love to hear from you guys, and you know, it's really something that I feel kids would really enjoy. And maybe they would get into the reptile hobby later on in their life. If anything, my goal at the very minimal level right here is they see a tortoise or a turtle crossing the street. They know well enough that they can't take that animal home, and just to help it along its way, and that's it. Right? Anyway, so I have that educational program in mind. I'm looking at developing it. I have somebody that's going to be working on a website with an app that kind of gives you access to the YouTube channel, the educational stuff, the website, the Facebook, everything. The Facebook, how old am I? Everything all put together in one central hub. So that's exciting as well. That's going to be a few months out. That's like distant future. So, recap. What are we looking at? We're looking at too long of a video. We're looking at Stuttering Bob, Fingers Flared, because I don't know what to say next. This is where you edit the video, John. Edit the video.